All right, folks, today I want to talk about a little Girsan Turk pistol that I got recently. So we're going to be talking about this one here, which is the Girsan MC14T G84, not the BDA version. So not at all confusing terminology at all they use to refer to these Beretta 84, basically clones was what these are. So the reason why I have interest in these is because a long time ago I got on the surplus market, and there was a bunch of Beretta 81 and 81 BBs coming into the market, and so I bought one because I've never tried any of the small format Beretta pistols before, and I was very happy with that. I don't remember if I did a review on it, but it was a fantastic little shooter. Just high Beretta quality in 32 ACP, just absolutely pleasant to shoot. Wonderful gun, very accurate. But I ended up putting it in a trade towards the HKP7 that I had, and so I haven't had one since. And I kind of regret trading it, to be honest, because I kind of missed having a really nice, larger format 32 pistol to shoot. So when I saw that Girsan was making these, that are essentially, like I said, Beretta 84 clones, which is the 380 version of the 81. They kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And especially, too, they also have the MC14T, which is the Beretta 86 clone, which, if you know anything about the Beretta small format pistols, the 80 series, right? Those 86s are, one, they're pretty rare, and two, they're very expensive because they have a very just interesting kind of tipping barrel system on them. I think they look very cool. And, someday I'm going to get one. But in the meantime, we have, like I said, the 84 clone here. So this is in 380, and it takes the same magazines. I'm going to assume pretty much like almost probably near 100% parts interchangeability. The frame, of course, is a little bit different. It's got the rounded trigger guard here. Some of the later models of the 80 series has a kind of like a squared off trigger guard. I don't like the look of those so much. I like the old school classic ones that have the nice blued finish, the big chunky wooden grips, all that stuff. If you know Beretta pistols, you know what I'm talking about. But this is definitely a more modern iteration, I should say, of those pistols because, it's got no bluing on it. It's all Cerakote finish, which is pretty standard for the Turk pistols that we've seen. But they did a very good job. The finish on here actually looks really well done. I've had no complaints at all with it. It hasn't had any issues with rust, corrosion, none of that. And it's got G10 grips, which that's a nice touch. Because I always felt that if you look at the thickness there of the grips, I always felt the wooden grips, or even sometimes the plastic ones of the 80 series pistols, are a little chunky, they're a little fat. So these ones are a little bit slimmer, not by a whole much, but it definitely still fits my hand pretty well. So controls are all standard Beretta 84. So takes down just like one. Ambidextrous safety, that's pretty nice. And you can carry this cocked and locked, which is also nice. Has a firing pin block safety as well, very critical for a carry pistol, which you absolutely could carry this. So on top of that too, of it being a nice 80 series clone, it can also take the 32 ACP barrels, and you can swap in between. So if you have the correct magazines, 380 magazines, 32 ACP magazines, 32 ACP barrel, 380 barrel, you can interchange those and swap them around, and they work just fine. And in fact, that was one of the major other factors that why I got this pistol, is because there's a company, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but it's Allegheny, I think, Allegheny Arms. They make 32 ACP barrels, 380 barrels, in all different shapes, formats, colors that you could possibly want. Non-threaded, threaded, extended, non-extended, flush fitting, black, stainless, whatever you want, they got it. And for not a bad price either. So this is exactly what I have here. I opted to go with the stainless threaded option here, 32 ACP, and you can see it's got their little logo right there. It says 7.65 millimeter, which is 32. And this was a straight-in, drop-in part for this gun. It had no fitting required. Just took out the old barrel, put the new one in, used 32 ACP magazines. Worked perfectly. It worked very great, actually. So that was another reason why I wanted to pick this up, because I had such a good experience shooting, like I said, the Beretta 81 from years past. So, but I'm going to cover the 380 side of this first, and then I'll talk about 32 after. So, this gun comes in a very inexpensive plastic case. It only comes with one magazine, unfortunately. Just this one here. It's a 13 round magazine, so you can have 13 plus one. not bad for the size of this. And this is really comparable to the Beretta 80X, because the Beretta 80X is of course the most modern iteration of the 80 series. But having shot an 80X, I did not like it at all. The whatever they did with the trigger mechanism in it, terrible. It feels terrible. And the safety also, whatever they did with that, there's a weird kind of little, I'm not going to say half notch in the safety that's not the real safety, so it's not actually on, but it feels on. So if you don't have the right experience with that gun, it could be misleading for that safety, which is not great. And the 80X also felt just kind of cheap to me. I don't know why it doesn't quite have the same heft as these ones do. But anyway, it's not about the 80X. We're talking about this. So yeah, 13+1, 380. Comes only one magazine. It is a Mech-Gar though, so that's nice. And it has this nice little base plate here, which is very reminiscent of earlier Beretta pistols, which of course, like your Beretta 1934s, 35s that had the big base plate down here, which really kind of locks in your hand very nicely, and it fits pretty good. So, in order to find, though, other spare magazines, I could not find anywhere online that sold the, well, Girsan, I guess, brand magazine, or even Mech-Gar doesn't even have the ones in their factory options that have this curved base plate. The only ones I was able to find were the regular 80 series magazines, 84 series magazines that have a flat base plate here, and it doesn't quite look or feel as nice. And you can see there, the lip hangs off quite a bit. And it doesn't quite look as nice. It doesn't feel as nice. You know, it still locks my hand in, sure, but could be better. But it does work. I've had zero reliability issues with this gun, except for certain 380 ammo is, it's got like a flat point. I tend to avoid using those. I have seen it occasionally where from feeding from the magazine, it'll dip into the feed ramp rather than feeding up. And that is entirely because it is a flat point. Round nose projectiles, I've had hollow points, oddly enough hollow points. Haven't had any issues with those. So just a little bit of note there. For shooting 380 though, this is of course a direct blowback pistol. Not a fixed barrel like your Makarovs or anything, but it is a blowback pistol. So anyone who has shot like a PP or PPK in 380 knows that the recoil of a 380 in a direct blowback can be mildly unpleasant, to say the least. And it wasn't necessarily as bad with this one, because it is of course a larger format pistol. It's got more ergonomic feature to it. But I would say not the most pleasant thing in the world, but definitely not terrible either. So I could definitely go through 150, 200 rounds through one sitting and be mostly okay with it. So the 32, of course, shot much better, much more pleasantly, but I'll get into that in a sec. So cool. Yeah, so trigger on this is also actually pretty darn good. Double action and single action. It feels very responsive, very crisp to me. It does remind me a lot of the 81 BB that I had. And no magazine disconnect either, because I know some of the Beretta pistols have that, which is incredibly annoying and not needed at all. And it also kind of ruins the trigger pull, if you ask me. But these, of course, do not have that. Now, for accuracy on the 380, so I forgot to save my targets, unfortunately, but at 25 yards, I was able to get about 2.5 inches, 3 inches maybe, depending on the ammo, of course. I will say this pistol was somewhat sensitive accuracy-wise to certain kinds of ammo. So, like cheaper brands I had, like, or heck, even like Super Val, for some reason, Super Val shot like absolute garbage out of this pistol. But the SIG brand worked pretty good. Magtech, Federal, Remington, all of that worked fine. So I imagine most brands of ammo, you know, just regular FMJ ball stuff, not even hollow points, will work just fine out of this pistol accuracy-wise. So I do like the amount of accuracy I was able to get out of the 380. So even though it's, you know, they always say it's a small little carry pistol and everything else, that doesn't mean you can't take it out to 25 yards, even 50 yards, even if you want. I mean, I do that with my Makarovs, right? So if the Makarovs can do that, this definitely can. So as far though, the one complaint I did have about shooting the accuracy-wise portion of it was the simple fact that the sights are, I don't know what the heck they're regulated for, because even at 10 yards, I would have like a 6 o'clock hold, and it would hit about 2 inches high. And then when I took it out to 25 yards, it's hitting like 6 to 8 inches above the sight picture, which is way too high. So I'm not exactly sure why that is, because the sights there's nothing I can't tell anything wrong looking with the sights, but if you were to lay a level on top of the sights here and then line it up to where the bore, basically the center line of the barrel is, you can definitely see there's a significant upward tilt to it. So that does kind of explain why it's hitting high. I just didn't expect that, because usually I would expect small pistols to be zeroed probably, 25 and under, 25 at the absolute max. I can't imagine this being zeroed for 50. That's a little crazy to me. But it shot very, very high. So in order to get a proper sight picture for where I wanted to hit, kind of point of aim, point of impact, I had to take the 3-dot sights, and you can see 3-dot there, right? I had to take the front sight and basically bury it halfway in the sight picture, and then have my target resting on top of the front sight as it's buried halfway in there. I'm not sure if I explained that very well, but yeah, it's, I don't have my pen with me, but anyway, I basically had, instead of having all 3 dots lined up perfectly across, I had to take the 2 rear sights, the 2 rear dots, and then have the front sight, instead of having it lined up here, move it about halfway down, so the top of the front sight is cutting halfway through the rear dots in order to hit my target. So that's mildly annoying. It's not very precise. It's not very how I want to shoot accurately when it comes to irons. And it's another thing I have to remember if I'm ever going to carry this gun and use it in a self-defense situation. I got to remember to aim super low or do the weird sight picture. So not great, but also doesn't take away from the inherent mechanical accuracy of the pistol, which, like I said, was pretty good. As far as the 32 side, so like I said, the barrel was a complete drop-in, no issues at all whatsoever. You cannot use 380 magazines, though, to load 32, and that's simply because of the geometry of the feed lips and everything else, because, I don't know if this will show up very well here, but here, this one here is the 380, and this one here is the 32. And you can see just even from the back, where it feeds, the geometry is just slightly different. The reason why that is because, of course, 380 is it's not a rimmed round by any means. It's just straight all the way through, essentially. Versus the 32, which has a semi-rim, so it has a little bit of a rim on it, and that's also why the 32 magazines only hold 12 versus the 380 holding 13. So you do get less firepower, you get less, less total foot-pounds per magazine, if you want to think about it that way, right? Because 32 is less powerful than 380, of course. So that is an unfortunate downside, that if you are going to convert this to 32, you're going to have less to work with. But that's the nature of the beast. That's just how 32 works. So I also say, too, these magazines that I got, and I'm not even quite sure who makes these. I want to say it is Metgar still, because it does say made in Italy. These are absolutely new production magazines. They're not surplus ones at all. And these things were an absolute pain in the ass to load to the 12-round maximum, because I wanted to test the reliability, of course, with this pistol using a full mag plus 1. I do that with all my pistols, and it worked perfectly fine. So, but getting the last 12th round in this magazine, holy cow, that was a exercise in frustration. It did lighten up after I got a few more rounds through it. Kind of worked the magazine a little bit, put a little bit of lube in there. Not a whole lot, just a teeny amount. Doesn't need much, and it started to work a lot better after that. So, as far as the accuracy, I did actually say the targets for the 32. I forgot for the 38, the 380, unfortunately. But the 32, it was actually really damn good. So, here's one of the targets I saved, and you can see my writing up here. This is at 25 yards standing. Now, the 0, I guess, is a little bit off to the right, and that is probably just due to the fact that it's a different barrel. It's got different geometry, right? It's just ever so slightly different, or maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's hard to tell with a small format pistol like this. But as you can see here, this is a 5-shot group. I got a 2-inch group at 25. Very impressive. And then I have another example here. This is a little less impressive, but still at 25 yards, you got 5-round group there. It's about 3 inches, give or take. So really, really not bad for a tiny little pistol like this. So it's not a target gun, okay, I know that, but I always try to squeeze out as much accuracy as I can out of any pistol that I have, or any weapon that I have, honestly, because I need to know, under ideal conditions, how good I can be with it. So in case I do need to use it, I can have a reasonable expectation of, like, okay, well, if I need to be really, really precise, can I actually make that shot? And I'll have that confidence that I can. or that I can't. So, but yeah, the 32 worked perfectly, and this was fantastic. It's great. The shooting experience is much more pleasant in 32 than 380. You still get just enough recoil to make it feel like you're still shooting a real gun and not a 22 or something like that. So it's still pleasant. It's very pleasant. Now, the other downside for 32 is, of course, one, it's not as powerful. Two, it costs a whole heck of a lot. I will never understand why the smaller caliber like that costs more than the larger one, because you think in terms of like material costs, right? You're spending more money with more material to make a larger round versus 32, but maybe it's just the economies of scale and the fact that they don't tool up very much, those companies, for 32. So it's probably the explanation there. I do hope 32 gets more popular, though, because I really do think in a lot of these concealed carry pistols that are chambered in 380, they'd be a way more pleasant in 32 for a lot of people. I mean, like the LCP2, LCP Max, right? Those are all 380, and they're not they're not very pleasant to shoot, I'll be totally honest. And same thing too with the Walther PP, PPK. Those in 380, terrible. I hate shooting them, right? But in 32, they're good to go, fantastic, because of course that is the caliber that it was originally designed in. So all that being said, the 32, the secondary reason why I got this pistol to get it in 32 worked out perfectly. Allegheny Arms makes some great stuff. I would buy from them again 100%. Shipping was very fast. I mean, the quality of the product was just awesome, you know. I'm just really impressed by just how clean, you know, the presentation and everything on this was. And of course, it worked perfectly fine. No fitting required. I can't say that that'll be the case for everyone's pistol, of course, if they get one of these things, but I don't think people are going to have any problems. So, and I do think that this Allegheny thing will also work with the BDA version of this pistol. Of course, the BDA version has an enclosed slide versus the open top here, but that's really more of a stylistic choice, is my understanding from that. I don't think it affects the actual internal function of the pistol. I don't think it's any different, really, just that the slide is a slightly different design. So that's more your bag, because I have seen the original Browning BDAs. They do look kind of nice, but if you have an 84 or an 81, it's essentially the same thing. So, but hopefully someday I'll get one of those 86 clones, the MC14T non-G84 model, because they both have this similar names. But anyway, all that being said, overall I've been actually very impressed with this little Girsan. I mean, overall with the Turkish weapons, they've been getting better, I think, as the years go on, and I've actually been very impressed by what I've seen come out of them. So I mean, this is just a handsome looking pistol, you know, like with the G10s and everything, the nice little logo there, you know, with a little bit of color. And then if you put like the oh shoot, I'll just put the 32 barrel in here real quick just to show you what it looks like. Gives it a nice two-tone look, and it doesn't look half bad. It's actually pretty handsome. So let me oops. I remember another thing too with the disassembly for these and reassembling it. You really do have to make sure you put the barrel in the right position, because I've had multiple times where I'm trying to put the barrel back in right, and you'll see sometimes it hangs up like that, like on the I guess the slide face, right, the bolt face. It kind of hangs up like that. So if you try to put your recoil spring in like that when it's not sitting properly, then yeah, it's going to get all kinds of locked up. So you have to make sure it's actually sitting inside of the the slide properly. So let me get the 32 in there together. Yeah, it's not like a Beretta 92 where it just lines up perfectly, but anyway. And then also too, on reassembly, the annoying thing about these, and I do like this better on the Beretta 92s, they improved it, but this the takedown latch here, your barrel has to be pushed back all the way, just like that. And because if you don't do that, then the takedown latch will not re-engage. So it's definitely very possible to have the barrel in the wrong position when you're trying to do that. So when you're putting it back together, you're like, what the heck? Why is the takedown lever not going back in? Just take the barrel and just push it back into the frame until it snaps. And there you go. And I'll put the 32 mag in here. Cool. So you can see that's not a bad looking little package there. You know, it's got the nice stainless barrel, nice little logo there, nice little, you know, black and silver kind of two-tone look. You know, it's a good looking little pistol, you know. and it's comfortable. It's got a good trigger. It's reliable, pretty darn accurate as far as I'm concerned. You know, so what's not to love, right? And also, too, one of the best parts is the price point for these. So I think I paid like $300, I think, for just the base 381, and then of course the 32 ACP barrel I think was like $180. And then spare magazines, you know, like 20, 30, maybe even $40 on the high end, right? So really not too bad little setup here. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying out the 86 clone and see how that shoots, because it's also fairly cheap. You know, like 350, 400, 450 I've seen on the high end, which, you know, considering how expensive the actual Beretta 86s are, I think that's a heck of a deal, especially if they all work as good as this one did. I mean, you're getting the same level of quality of functionality and accuracy and everything else you'd want out of the pistol. Of course, it doesn't look quite the same, and it doesn't have the Beretta name on it, but, you know, you're getting 90% of the experience for way less money, right? So in terms of that, I think the Turks are doing an excellent job. And, you know, I think we're kind of spoiled for choice these days. And despite what people might feel about the Turks and, you know, their country and everything else and how they operate, okay, sure, I get it. But you also can't deny sometimes they make a pretty good gun for a pretty good price. So I will definitely give them credit where credit is due. And this is certainly one of them. So figured to bring this to you guys and kind of, you know, explore one of the more popular options I've seen with the Alleghenies here, turning these to 32 or 380, vice versa, whichever way you want to do it. They got all kinds of options, which is great. So, yeah, very impressed with this, and I hope you guys learned something from that. And yeah, this is a recommend from me for sure. So, cool. We'll see you next time.